Breaking news, the tide is turning in California for Republicans. Coming up, I'll share with you the latest data polling that shows that Republicans are surging in the state, making them competitive to win the governor's race in 2026. This is exciting, and you need to be part of it. Coming up. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California and a California state legislator representing District 75 in the state assembly. The whole reason why I founded Reform California 7 years ago was to create a voice of opposition in the state because I was not happy with the California Republican Party. They seemed to just simply be inept or incapable or disinterested in fighting for common sense. And as a result, the Democrats took over what we call a super majority control of our state. They control all levels of government in California, and they've enacted crazy policies that have really hurt all Californians. But things seem to be changing. Voters are waking up. They're not happy. And the data I'm about to share with you is consistent with a variety of data sets that we are seeing across the board, indicating that California voters who used to vote Democrat and independent are now switching to the Republican side in droves. And it's not because the California Republican Party has done anything to deserve it. No. It's the Democrats are so wickedly inept and incompetent and destructive that voters are just simply waking up and deciding we need a change. Now, before you get all excited, recognize that just because voters want to have change and are interested in an alternative doesn't mean that's how they're going to vote in 2026. We, on our side, still need to get our act together and give them something positive to vote for. We need to get good candidates, recruit, train, endorse, support good candidates, and we need to offer very clear policy prescriptions to make people's lives better. And we're going to have to reach out to a lot of voters and seal the deal. Right now, the data I'm about to show you demonstrates that they're interested in change, but the deal has not solidified. So before we get into the polling data and some insider information on the Democrats and how they're freaking out, I want to invite you to be part of this movement to take back the state. Reform California, as I mentioned, formed 7 years ago, has been leading the fight for common sense in our state. We are doging California to expose corruption. We are making the case by getting ballot measures introduced that voters can actually vote for affirmatively to make change happen in our state. We're bypassing the liberal, supermajority controlled Democrat state legislature. And of course, we're pumping out all sorts of legislative proposals to show people that it doesn't have to be this way. There's common sense solutions that politicians could easily implement, but they choose not to. The second thing we're doing is we're recruiting candidates. The third thing we're doing is we're recruiting people like you as volunteers. The fourth thing we're doing is we're giving you a voter guide in the election and a list of low propensity voters that you can reach out to convince them to vote in these midterm elections. And then finally, we're raising the resources to do all the above. If you want to join that fight and get more information, go to the website, reformcalifornia.org. Go to the bottom of the website. Here it is, bottom of the website, reformcalifornia.org, and put in your first name, your last name, your email, phone number, and zip code. This way, you will be tethered to our growing grassroots movement in the state of California to take back California from the left. You will get a weekly email with the campaign activities in your area, as well as news that the liberal media won't be providing you because they don't want you to know the truth. You can also share all these news stories with your friends, neighbors, and family members. Plus, please chip in a contribution. We can't do anything without your support. The average contribution is only $67 a year per contributor to Reform California, which means people usually give $5 a month, $25 a couple times a year. Whatever you can give, invest in the movement to take back the state of California. We can do this, but only with your help. So sign up at that website, reformcalifornia.org, chip in a contribution. Are you ready? Here's the data. Since the fall, I've been telling you that voters are overwhelmingly unhappy with the direction of California. About a month ago, I brought you an update on the Public Policy Institute of California poll that showed that 65% of Californians feel that the state is on the wrong track. That includes a pretty sizable chunk of Democrats, in addition, of course, to Republicans and independents. We see that Gavin Newsom's approval rating is underwater. More people disapprove of the job the governor's doing than approve. And now we see this poll that came out, and this is remarkable. This is according to David Wolfson. He's a national pollster. He did a poll March 6th to 9th of likely November 2026 voters. These are midterm voters, because not everyone shows up in a midterm. You have a presidential election in California that's 80% turnout. Lots of people show up. But in the midterms, it drops to about 35%. So David Wolfson's poll is just based on those midterm voters. And here you go. 83% of voters say gas prices are too high. I'm wondering what the 17% are thinking, because you need your head examined. 73% fully support funding anti-crime Proposition 36, which state Democrat leaders have refused to do. 72% feel that homelessness is still a big problem after years of Democrat control. 71% believe Democrats in charge have not addressed the state's high cost of living. 69% think Democrats in Sacramento have not done enough to bring down utility costs. 62% say a full independent investigation is needed of the recent LA wildfires. Only 24% of Californians think biological males should compete in female sports. But this is the most profound question asked in the poll. And this is why it is absolutely stunning, the level of which we've seen the voters in California shift. The question was asked, would you consider voting for a Republican candidate for governor in 2026? Look at these numbers. 48% would consider voting for a Republican. 48%. Now remember, only 30% Republican turnout in 2026 is expected. And only 25% of Republican Party voters are registered in the, only 25% of voters are registered as Republicans in the state of California. This is dramatic, which means that Republicans are pretty much in a competitive position. Now, someone saying I would be willing and I would consider voting for a Republican versus hells to the no is a dramatic shift, but it also is not sealing the deal. We have to seal the deal, and we have to spike turnout. So there's two ways for us to win. Number one is we have to seal the deal with these 48%. But number two, what happens if instead of 30% of Republican of the turnout is Republican in 2026, what if we excite Republicans so much with what's on the ballot and the candidates we've recruited that they actually turn out not at 30%, but 35%? You just won this election. If you could convince people who are willing to vote Republican, which is highly likely if we continue to shine a light on the corruption, the wasteful spending, the failures of Gavin Newsom and California Democrats in the state legislature, we can seal the deal, but we also need to spike turnout. That's where Reform California comes in. It's number one, make the case to voters. Number two, recruit candidates that people can be proud of and excited for in every office, from Congress all the way down to school board and judge. Number three, recruit volunteers like you to deliver the message to friends, family, coworkers. Number four, give you the tools, the voter guide, the Reform California Plain English Voter Guide that gives the description of all the ballot measures, but also tells you which candidates are the good candidates to vote for. A lot of voters don't turn out in midterms because they don't know a whole lot about who's running for office. We solved that problem by giving you that voter guide, that tool to encourage turnout, to make it simple for your friends, family, and neighbors to vote the right way. We also will give you a list of voters in your community that have not yet returned a ballot. But in order for us to do this, you've got to sign up at reformcalifornia.org. And in order for us to print those door hangers and do the voter guide and do a variety of other outreach like ads and campaigns to support candidates up and down the state of California, we need contributions. So please go on that website, reformcalifornia.org. So here's the polling, and it's phenomenal. I'm truly excited about where we are. And in the 2024 election, remember, Prop 36 passed with 70% of the vote. It carried every county. So voters agree with our reform agenda, with our ideas for common sense. More importantly, we flipped the greatest number of legislative seats in a presidential cycle since 1984. We're on our way to breaking the supermajority in 2026, and I believe it will happen with your help. And yes, I do believe we are now competitive in the governor's race and all the other statewide races, from attorney general to the superintendent of public schools. Very important statewide offices that if we get a couple of those, we start restoring a healthy balance to California politics. Even the Democrats know that they're in trouble. Here's the headline from Politico. This is from just a few days ago. California Democrats are in control, so why are they worried? They should be worried if they're looking at the same data we're looking at. It's from March 21st. It says California Democrats are talking about energy bills and zoning for new housing. Forget the big nation-leading swings on healthcare and climate. California Democrats have wielded a monopoly on their power to enact and ultimately export ambitious, crazy policies. But Governor Gavin Newsom and his party are recalibrating after a bruising 2024 election in which President Donald Trump outperformed his 2020 results across the state of California, and voters signaled they were fed up with crime and a crushing cost of living. Quote, we need to take a step back and assess what Californians are prioritizing, what their attitudes are. So says Democrat Senator Tom Umberg, citing poor election performance by Kamala Harris in California. And the story goes on to quote other Democrats, both on record and off record, frustrated, terrified, really, about where their party is and declining voter registration for Democrats, while Republican voter registration naturally is on the increase. And by the way, again, don't credit the California Republican Party. They're a dumpster fire. They've not actually gotten their act together. I'm hopeful. They have new leadership. We'll see. But Reform California has decided we're not waiting for the professional political class to get their act together, to pull their head out of their you-know-what. We're moving the ball forward. And this is a absolutely ripe opportunity. Latino voters are moving to the right in California faster than any other demographic. But anyone who's a working class Californian is hurting with the high cost of living, with the crime, the grime, the homelessness, the failing schools. They are moving in our direction rapidly. And you know what we're doing at Reform California? We are exposing the corruption. I mean, the Doge California efforts that we're leading are shining a light on wasteful spending and corruption. They were so angry that they threw me off the budget committee because we were exposing what was going on. But hey, I don't need to be on the budget committee to continue to shine a big old spotlight on the corruption, malfeasance, wasteful spending of California Democrats and Governor Newsom. We're getting that information out literally every other day with press conferences, press releases, exposés, and investigations. But we're also leading all these campaigns. Take a look at these campaigns. Stop the tax hikes. We're going to be filing an initiative to protect Prop 13. And we always oppose every single one of the state and local tax hikes on the ballot in every election using our plain English voter guide. We have our contract to Reform California so we can make the case to voters in California who are hungry for change. Take a look at it. Cost of living reform, blocking tax hikes and protecting Prop 13, balancing the budget without service cuts, school choice, homelessness solutions, cracking down on crime, ending the reckless release of criminals onto our streets, securing the border, voter ID. We have our voter ID initiative, punishing politicians when they pass bills that are unconstitutional and cutting the politicians' perks, forcing them to live under the same laws as you and I, no exemptions. All of these elements are then reflected in other campaigns to restore public safety, to get voter ID on the ballot and passed in the 2026 election. Look, the time is right. If not now, when? If not you and me and our friends and family, who and where and why? We've got to do this. So please join us at reformcalifornia.org. Sign up on that website, chip in a contribution. Until next time, Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California and a California State Legislator. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. But before you click away, please subscribe to this channel and click that notification button so you get updated when we post new episodes. Plus, like this video and share it with your friends so that we can help spread our message across the state. Reform California with Carl DeMaio is paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly.